Welcome to Off Brand. I have wet hair because it is Saturday morning, and last night was the second episode of On Brand with Jimmy Fallon. Last week was really fun. There were no eliminations. This week there are an elimination, but we had two finalists. We had Bianca and Ryan. Ryan was the winner. He came up with this amazing idea for the breakfast Duncan meal deal, and it was all about leaning into the workers, celebrating the workers, doing it for the workers, basically. This week, the star of the show is Southwest Airlines. Every agency wants an airline. It's a sexy account to have and a sexy account to win. Look at Niels and the team at Uncommon. They wanted BA, they got BA, and they won a lot of can lines for BA. It's just very in the industry. There's a lot of glamour in aviation, and Southwest is no different. This is a good account to work on, a good account to win. And I've heard very good things about Whitney. That's right. She's the chief comms officer at Southwest, and apparently she's brilliant. So that's very good. She came on and she briefed everyone on this week's task. Southwest Airlines were asking the agency to promote the launch of extra legroom and assigned seating. They needed a campaign and a tagline. Simple. They had an hour, not long, but they had to come up with something. And there was no eliminations last week, so everyone's still there. And everyone's getting nervous because there was an elimination this week, and they're feeling that. 3 were going to be selected to put through. Last week there was just 2. There's 3. Okay, very exciting. So we went straight into it, straight into the presentations. Very excited. Jimmy was high energy. Boz was there, throwing out some little nuggets of insights. And first up was Sabrina, who told an amazing story about how she was struck by lightning, and that this could be a chance to be struck by lightning in a good way. Her campaign idea was "You had me at more legroom," which is a play on the "You had me at hello." Jerry Maguire. Okay, good reference. I don't know, I quite liked it, but I don't think it moved them as much as she was hoping. Then was Mahari. His was all about superheroes. He wore a cape. He was wearing dungarees. He looked great. His idea was about superheroes, you're battling legroom. So you might be a businessman, you might be just a family, you're all wearing capes. I was lost with this idea. I love Mahari. I think he's great. He's a chance of winning this whole thing. Good ideas, but this one went over my head. It visually very pleasing, and it kind of like feels like something Southwest might do visually, but the messaging was lost on me. There doesn't really no real reference about legroom. He talked about how you're wrestling, your superpower is that you're fighting for legroom, which is okay. But again, the one thing about the briefing process, they're not giving a lot of insights like, oh, your customers are this, we want to appeal to families, businessmen. These are the people we're trying to attract. When you're in a briefing, that's the first thing you interrogate. They're given an hour. I don't know what Boz tells them or what the client was telling, Whitney was telling them, but it didn't come across in the show that they're given all this information that you naturally would want to be able to sort of lean in and tailor your copy to specifically what the need is here. I worked a little bit for United last year, and we were celebrating that you can book your flights on different hours of the day. So again, great for families. So you kind of need those insights that then turn that into a creative platform. But interesting. Then this was Piper. This idea was we've got the growth mindset. Very interesting. It's about flowers needing to be able to escape their pots. The client did not like this. Didn't feel very Southwest. It's kind of felt complicated, which I agree with. Because you need to hit them with a line that's very easy. You can't be taking 2 or 3 steps going, what is that? This is Azeli. She came up with, what was this? Your legs will want an encore. So it's about having long legs and you want to come back. Okay, I get that. That's nice. Then we had Ryan, back last week's winner. Legs deserve attention. Visually pleasing, making legs the hero. I get his insight there. I quite like that one. Again, a great presenter. Then we had Raj. His idea here was, I can't remember what this was now. It wasn't great. He's a lovely man. But he's got good ideas, but just not the best at presenting. And, that is part of being in an agency. You have to learn how to present. Then we had Bianca. She started to think about the customer and who's going to be flying on this flight. And I thought that was a good way in. So she was looking at the different types of people who and the reasons why you might want some room on the flight. And I thought that was really good. Um, Psychographic, I think we call that. So she's a good, again, a good presenter. They love this one. So then we had, I'm not going to go through all of them. This is BT, Big Pitch Energy. I mean, incredible guy, very charismatic. He brings the riz to the show. But I will say this was lost. Big Pitch Energy just isn't a consumer facing line. It's not something that you're going to understand and grab. But, every agency needs a BT. They do. So, he brings fresh ideas and you want him on your side. So, who were the winners? Well, the winners were top three who got a boarding pass was Ryan with his legs deserve attention, Mahari with his superheroes, and Bianca with her personality segmentation. So what happened? Well, they all went away. They had a couple of hours. The task here was they had to wrap a Southwest plane. And so they had to really land that message and visually how they could make that plane stand out when it's in the skies or on the runway. So quite a task, actually, but again, a very fun reward to see your idea come to life. So they split into 3 teams. First episode, there was 2 teams. Now there's 3 teams. And the winning team will be exempt of being fired. So one person, you want to be on the winning team, essentially. So first up was Legs Deserve Attention. This is Ryan's plane. And yeah, not bad. Look, he put the legs on the flight there. It looks a bit odd. Looks like they're sort of trying to escape the plane. But I get what he's done here. I think it's nice and simple, visually quite pleasing. It's playing with the format, with the windows, which is nice, sort of thing that BA did, Uncommon with the windows, with their out of home. Yeah, good, interesting. Then we had Mahari. This visually looks fantastic. He wrapped the plane here in a superhero format here, and kick back and relax. Let us get you there. So you're all superheroes, is essentially the idea here. I was lost. Visually, brilliant. I love Mahari, but where are you landing the messaging about legroom, and where are you landing the messaging about assigned seating? I think all of them sort of lost that assigned seating messaging. And then there was Bianca, who completely pivoted from her brilliant idea, that personality-driven messaging. She then decided bravely to pivot into space because she wanted her idea to be bigger. I think she was desperate to win, and she didn't feel like her original concept was great. I think if she would have stuck with that original concept, she was a sure shot to win. But, it's a pitch process, and this is what happens when you pitch. You panic sometimes. You make some rash decisions. You talking to other people. You convince other people to convince you that that's a good idea, and you sometimes get lost. Which is why when we pitch, we spend days on this, because when you wake up after a night of working on a pitch, you're like, "What have I just come up with?" I think if she would have had the next day, she would have gone, "This isn't working." But she did. She went with it. Visually good. We've got the space. I get that messaging. That makes sense. But space is confusing. Rockets. Elon Musk. You get it. So what happened? Well, Amari won. So well done, Amari. So he got to see his plane get wrapped, and they got to improve it with some legroom messaging. So there we go. That's how they improved it. They obviously loved the idea, the visuals of it, and the superhero-ness felt very Southwest. So I see why they went with it. I think that Bianca's original concept, the personalization-driven messaging, would have been stronger, and had she had gone with it. But that's the game. This is the risk. You're as good as the ideas. So that's why this, as a show, I find it great, because you're only as good as the ideas, and the client has to pick one. That's not the reality of a pitch. The client will go, "I don't like any of them." And I wonder if that's going to happen on the show. That at some point the client's going to go, "What on earth am I looking at?" But, this is week 2. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Again, wasn't enough of Boz. I'd like to see more of her. And why only give them an hour? Could they give them 2 hours? Double their time. Maybe the ideas would be better. I guess it keeps it. You don't want to make all of them kind of come up with the same average idea. You need them to think quickly, so that makes sense. And who was the winner? Well, we know who the winner was, Mahari, but he got to see his aeroplane wrapped, which must have been amazing to see. Sadly, we had to lose someone. We had to lose someone, and that person was BT. So we had to lose BT. Big pitch energy. Fantastic. We need a personality hire. Every agency needs a personality hire. The sadness of these sorts of show concepts is that you're kind of losing some of the big characters, but they're not delivering, and then you're going to be left with some stiffs. It's like in Traitors when you watch that, and you're just left with sort of the boring kind of ones who you can't work out. You lose some of these big personalities. But look, this is a real agency. These are real clients. I think the best man won on the day, but I think Bianca was close. She made the mistake. I think she'll learn from that. But what fun. I enjoyed it. Well done, Jimmy. Well done, the show. I enjoyed it. That was Off Brand. I'll see you for your next episode next week.